Hi, before we get into the video, I wanted to make a really exciting announcement. I have recently started a blog, so if you enjoy things like wrap-ups, really fun tags, ranking of movies, ranking of TV episodes, K-drama recommendations, books to K-pop recommendations, individual book reviews, things like that, you will enjoy my blog. If you want to follow it, it is chanelletime.wordpress.com, and I will also have a link to it down below. So if any of those things I said interest you, definitely go follow, go like, go leave a comment. It's going to be a really fun time. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a book haul, which is something I haven't done in a really long time. I think my last book haul was maybe in 2019, if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't think I did one in 2020.
Honestly, I don't remember.
Over the last few months, I have been unhauling and hauling, and I just want to talk about all these wonderful books that I have acquired. Before we get into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a monthly book service that promotes new and emerging authors. Every month, they curate diverse, new, and early releases in genres like thriller, romance, mystery, contemporary, fantasy, and more. While the subscription is monthly, you can skip a month if you feel like you don't find any titles that interest you during that month. The first March pick we have is The Lost Apothecary. A female apothecary secretary dispenses poison to liberate women from men who have wronged them, setting 3 lives across centuries on a dangerous collision course. Next, we have the final revival of Opal and Nev. Provocative and chilling, the final revival of Opal and Nev features a backup chorus of unforgettable voices, a heroine the likes of which we've not seen in storytelling before, and a daring structure. This is a fictional oral history of the beloved rock and roll duo who shot to fame in the 70s, and the dark, fraught secret that lies at the peak of their stardom. The third book is Too Good to Be True. 1 story, 2 marriages, 3 versions of the truth. This unsettling thriller will make you wonder which of its narrators is telling the truth and which just simply can't be trusted. The 4th book we have is What's Mine and Yours, an expansive, vibrant tapestry that moves between the years, from the foothills of North Carolina to Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Paris. This book explores the unique organism that is every family and what breaks them apart and how they come back together. Finally, we have In a Book Club Far Away. As 3 women reunite, they must overcome past hurts and see if there's any future left for their friendship. This is a heartwarming and moving novel following 3 army wives who are estranged friends and must overcome their differences when one of them is desperate for help. Those are all 5 books for March. If you're interested in any of them, make sure to use the code BOOKBUD to get your first book for $9.99. I'll also have the link in my bio, so make sure you check that out so you can head over directly to the website. When it comes to buying books, I typically go for things that I have already read because I know I like them. This might be my chance to annotate, or if they are for book clubs and things like that, then I'll buy them new. But typically, they are books that I have read. That being said, for the ones I have read that I'm going to be hauling, I will be telling you a little bit about them, what I thought about them, things like that. But just so this video isn't too long, I'm going to try and keep things as brief as possible. There are some books in here that I know absolutely nothing about or very little about, so I'll just be like, oh, and I bought this. I will also probably be doing a second video because this video is for all the books that I have bought and received through book boxes. The first group of books that I want to talk about in this haul are the book picks from my book club. So for February, we have Girl, Woman, Other, which I will be having the live show for on March 13th at 3 p.m. EST, and I'll be joined by Joel from Fictional Fates and Bria from Tells of Tales. In March, we'll be reading Spoiler Alert, and the live show will be March 27th at 3 p.m. EST, and I'll be joined by Erin from Booked and Busy, Olivia from Live Reading, and Mina from Mina Reads. The next few books don't have live show dates yet, but make sure you are following the book club Instagram and are in the Discord and things like that, which I'll have links to down below. But in April, we're going to be reading Black Sun, and I'll be joined by Kay from I Love Books So Kay, Kim from Native Lady Book Warrior, and RC from Neku the Book Lock. Then we have in May, Everything I Never Told You, and for this, I'll be joined by Brianna from Milky Booze and Tiffany from Read by Tiffany. Then we have in June, which I'm super excited for, Loveless. Okay, like this will be the second book that I have read by Alice Oseman. I did read Heartstopper, but that is a comic series slash graphic novel, but I mean like a novel. I'm so excited. The live show for this is gonna be Gabby from Gabby Reads, and then also Jessica from Jessica Nicole Dickerson. But yes, those are the next 5 book picks for the club. If you're interested in reading any of those, you should definitely join the book club
and join us in our wonderful times reading those books.
Next, we have We Met in December, which is a rom-com type of book. It's very like cute friends to lovers. I remember reading this, I think, December 2019 and really loving it, so I bought it. It's really cute. It definitely takes you throughout like a whole year. It starts in December and then we go again in December because we're following their friendship, but I really loved it, so I bought it. Then we have The 12 Days of Christmas, which I haven't read, but I'm always in the mood for Christmassy, holiday stories, so I had to check it out. Then we have Accidentally Engaged, and I picked this one up because one of my friends, Hal, was telling me about it and they were really enjoying it, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. So I saw it at Target and I was like, I'm taking this home with me right now. Another Target book is a book that is now one of my favorite YA contemporaries, and that is Furia. This book is so good. We follow our main character who is a soccer player, and we get to learn about kind of like her struggles in her town and her struggles of wanting to be a professional soccer player. And she is just fire. She is talent. She is amazing.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same.
And I thought it was really phenomenal. If you haven't read Furia, you really need to, because it is a fantastic book. Next, we have The Naturals, which is a book I haven't read, but one of my friends, Alana, recommended this to me, and I kind of trust Alana's YA recommendations because I feel like everything she recommends me that's YA slaps, so I was like, I'm gonna get it. Next is Foul is Fair. I have not heard anyone talk about this book, but I saw it on sale and I was like, you know what? It looks really good. It sounds interesting. I'm going to check it out. So we'll see how this one goes. Next, we have The Weight of Our Sky, which is a book I haven't heard many people talking about, but I've been trying to buy more books that are not set in the US or Canada or in the UK or Europe. And so I decided that this would be a really great book to check out because it's also super short and it looks and sounds like it's going to be really good. So hopefully I enjoy it. I think this is middle grade, but I'm not quite sure. It's either middle grade or YA, but I'm really pumped to read it. The next book I have is Serious Moonlight, and this is a book that I thought was new, but isn't. It just has like a new paperback cover, and I don't know much about it except that it involves 2 people who have an awkward encounter and then suddenly find themselves being coworkers and have to work together, and that's a trope that I really like when people are like forced to work together on something. Chef's kiss. It is a trope that always gets me, and so I'm hoping this one will be really good. The next book we have is The Inheritance Games, which is a book I'm still reading because I literally lost it for like a month or so somewhere in my house, and I was like, am I ever going to find the book again? And I did. As you can see, I was like tabbing and putting all kinds of notes in here, and I'm so glad I found it again because I can't wait to continue reading it. I'm enjoying it so far. It involves a girl who finds out that she has inherited like a large sum of money and an entire estate, and she's trying to figure out why did this man who died give her this money and all these things that she inherited. The next couple of books are actually series, and the first one is the Witcher series. I just have the first 3 books, so I have The Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, and Season of Storms, and I bought these while I was working at a bookstore for the holidays, and I'm really excited to read them. I was like, you know what, we have that discount, we're gonna buy some books, so we hope it's gonna be a good experience. I have read some parts of The Last Wish and really enjoyed it, so I'm assuming the rest of it will be really good. If you haven't checked out the video where I talk about all these science fiction and fantasy books that I want to read, you definitely should, because I went more into depth about the Witcher series and then a bunch of other series as well. The next series I'm going to talk about, I only own the first 2 books. I don't think the 3rd one is out yet, but I think it comes out this year and I will be getting that as well. That is Jade City and Jade War. I don't know much about this except that it is an urban fantasy and that's it. But I've just heard phenomenal things about this trilogy and the series and the characters and the everything, the writing. I've just heard so many great things. So I'm really excited to read this. Will it be a book club pick in future? We'll see. I wonder if that was a good wink or not.
Sometimes I'm like, do I know how to wink?
The next two books are part of a series that I picked up because I heard some wonderful things about the mental health representation, and that is the Storm Crow and then the Crow Rider. I've just heard really, really good things about these two books, and I love the covers so much. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it. Like, look at this. Look at this. Do you guys see how good these covers are? Like, they just look so good. Next, we have the last two books in a trilogy that I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy because I didn't like the first book. I thought the first book was like not for me. I was like, I don't think I'm going to continue. And then I decided to pick up the second book, which is A Heart So Fierce and Broken. And I loved this book. Like, when I tell you, this book was phenomenal. And I thought like I wasn't going to be the only one who thought so. Like, I didn't like the first book, loved the second book, but that seems to be the opposite with everyone else. So if you loved this one and didn't like the first one, can you like leave a comment and let me know that you're also in the same boat? I don't know, I just really love Gray's character, and I loved the entire progression in this book and the entire introduction of the new characters. I just loved it so much. So good. And because I loved it, I decided to pick up the last book. Like, I literally pre-ordered the last book as soon as I finished A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and I just hope that this book is going to be so good. Next, we have We Hunt the Flame, which is a book I bought because I saw the fan art, and there's just something about fan art that makes me want to read a book instantly, and I have heard only good things about this one, so I feel like it's going to be one that I'm really going to enjoy. Next, we have Mirage. This is a book that I read with my friend Rachel last year, I believe, and we both really loved it. Mirage follows our main character, who is essentially kidnapped because she is a doppelganger for a princess who's from like an enemy region, and she has to basically pretend to be that princess, but then she starts falling in love with the guy that the princess is engaged to, if I'm remembering correctly. I just really remember loving this book and feeling like the writing was phenomenal. I really loved the characters, loved the love interest, and I also really loved the relationship between the main character and the princess, like their friendship. I thought it was really good, but all around a really well written book. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Next, we have Blood Heir. I don't know anything about this book, like literally nothing. I bought this purely because it was cheap on Depop and the cover was great. That's all I can say. If you've read it, let me know what your thoughts were. Next, we have Layer of Dreams. I bought this one because I have The Diviners, which I read literally in 2019. Like, do you realize how long ago that was? It's been a while. Like, the world was completely different back then, so it's probably gonna need a reread, but I bought this because I saw it on sale, and I'm trying to get the entire series in this edition, so I just picked it up. Next, we have To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which is a book that I got because it is on my 2021 science fiction / fantasy TBR. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I've heard good things, so we'll hope that this giant book doesn't finish me. Another giant book that I hope doesn't finish me that's also on that TBR is Rage of Dragons. I also got One Day in December. What's the difference between this and the last one I hold? I love holiday stories, like I said, so I could literally read the same story by 25 different authors and still give it 5 stars and be shocked every time. So we're gonna hope that I love this one too. Speaking of love and romance, one series that I have fallen in love with is Perfect World. So I got volume 1 and volume 2, and this is a manga series that follows our two main characters who were classmates in high school and now meet as adults while they are working at the same design company, because I think the guy is an architect and she is also very similar in her job roles, and our main character finds out upon meeting the guy again as adults that he is now in a wheelchair because of an accident that happened right after high school. You get into it just thinking, okay, it's going to be like a cutesy little romance, but it's really touching to see our main love interest and see him really struggle to create a world that is accessible. And there's a lot of really like touching and wholesome moments in this. You just like, I don't know, you just leave the book feeling, or the series feeling, like your heart has been ripped apart, but at the same time there's so much hope in this world. So if you haven't checked out these volumes, you need to. Next, these are all out of order, but I also got volumes 1 through 13 of Ow How to Ride, and I got this because they were all on sale. Like Books A Million was having like a half off deal, or was it like a buy 2 get 1 free, something like that. And so I decided to just get the entire series because it was one of those moments where I was like, you know what, we're doing this. And so we did it. Because I didn't categorize this video by genres, you guys are just like, we don't know what's coming next. It's a surprise. Could be anything. But we kind of like that, right? Like, we kind of like the we don't know what's coming up next type of vibe. I mean, I do. But the next book I'm going to talk about is Darius the Great Is Not Okay. I don't know too much about this book, and I haven't heard that many people talk about it. But I do know that it is about a Persian teenager who visits his home country for the first time. And I know that from looking at Goodreads reviews that it's a pretty emotional story. It's a pretty intense story. And so I'm really, really excited to read that because I've been getting more into some harder hitting contemporaries, especially YA contemporaries. And I just feel like this one is going to hit it out of the park for me. Next, we have some Book of the Month editions that I hunted down and found at stores and on Depop. And I just... chef's kiss, because Book of the Month editions are just my favorite because they're really big and really long and the font is huge, so we love to see it. Anyways, I have Well Met and also Final Girls. Different books, okay? Final Girls is a thriller about a stabbing that happened at a, I think, either at a sleepover at a camp or something like that. And one of the girls who survives ends up meeting another girl who survives, and some things go down. Then we have Well Met, like I said earlier, which is a very, very light and cute romance. It's not actually that light and cute, but I really, really enjoyed this. We follow our main character who has moved to the town where her sister now lives to help take care of her sister, who has, I think, recently got into a car accident, and she ends up getting roped into working at a Renaissance fair where she meets our wonderful, gloomy love interest Simon. Really loved the small time vibes in this, and I saw it at Half Price Books, and I have never snatched up a book so fast in my life. Next, we have some wonderfully designed covers. We have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is a YA mystery thriller, I think. I'm not quite sure. I think there's a girl who's trying to uncover a murder that may have happened. I don't know too much about this, and I have heard very mixed reviews, but I have lost my Target receipt, so we're gonna read it. And then also Cemetery Boys, which I've heard wonderful things about. I've heard really good things about the friendship and relationship dynamics in this book. I've heard that it's kind of spooky, but also the characters are just really, really great, really well fleshed out. I have not heard a single bad thing about this book. We also have The Kingdom of Back. I don't know anything about this. Okay, we have a gift, we have Mozart. We have some other things. It's a historical fiction. Kind of like this. I do really like historical fiction, so this might be a hit for me. And I think Mary Lou is the author of... I can't remember now, but I know it's like a video game type of book. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen. So I have heard of this author. But yeah, I think this was a recommendation from Monet, from Life as Monet, and I think that's why I picked it up. But I'm really excited to read it. Then we also have Hunted by the Sky, which is a fantasy. I don't know why I'm guessing based on the cover, but it is a fantasy. And I bought this quite some time ago, and I remember really wanting to read it because it is inspired by medieval India. And I was like, I have never heard anything like this before, and I at the time was really, really into reading duologies, and I couldn't find this at my library, so I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna check it out. So that's what I did. I haven't read it yet, but the day is coming soon. Once I get out of my fantasy slump, the day is coming. Next, we have these two wonderful purple books. We have Girls of Paper and Fire, which is one of my favorite fantasy books. I don't talk about this one too often, but I know I talked about it in my favorite books of 2020 video. If you haven't watched that, I bought this because I am hearing a lot about Brandon Sanderson, and I had been recommended to try Skyward, and then when I got home I was like, I'm gonna let this one marinate for a little bit and we'll see if we're gonna enjoy it. And I just haven't picked it up yet, but we'll see. I've heard really good things about Brandon Sanderson, but I just don't know if this is an author whose work I will mesh with. But I have heard that this is like an easier thing to get into with his writing, and I've also heard the same about Mistborn. So we'll see if this will be first or if Mistborn would be first. I did originally buy this because I was going to do a video. but we don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, so we'll see. Next, we have 2 books by somebody who has now become one of my favorite YA contemporary authors, and that is Saints and Misfits and Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. I really love both of these books. In Love from A to Z, we have 2 characters who are coming to the same location in Qatar, and they are kind of, you know, connecting and learning about each other's experiences, painful experiences. Like, I didn't realize how much I needed to see something like this in a book until I read this, and I just feel like the writing, the characters, everything was phenomenal. And similar sentiments were here with Saints and Misfits. I just thought the main character in this was amazing. She was just so funny, so likable. I don't know. S.K. Ali, you have me. Anything you write, I'm gonna get it. The next book I'm gonna haul is My Dark Vanessa, which is a very serious book about a woman who was groomed as a teenager who is basically processing all of those things as an adult. Then we have You Deserve Each Other, which is a romance book that I loved so much. This is a second chance, haters to lovers type of situation about 2 characters who are engaged but hate each other's guts, and we basically follow their relationship while they are planning their wedding and also trying to figure out whether or not they want to be with each other or whether or not they hate each other too much to stand being around each other. Next, we have Catherine House, which is a book that I talk about really often. This is a gothic horror thriller type of situation. This is the kind of book that you're either gonna love or hate, so I loved it, so I bought it. And I think this book, honestly, in my opinion, is way too expensive for the size. Like, look at that, it's really thin. So luckily for me, I found it on Depop, so we love to see it. So if you can't find anything at like a store or whatever and you have access to Depop, always check, always be patient, because you never know. We are now down to the last few books that I am hauling for the portion of things that I bought myself, which is way longer than I thought it would be. So thankfully the book box portion is only like 6 books, so we're gonna be fine. The first book on here is Check Please Volume 2. I really loved the first volume, which I do own, but that was something that somebody gave to me as a gift, so it's not in this haul. But really excited to read this one. Really love this author's art, and I feel like it's going to be a good time. I need to reread the first volume before I read this one. But the last books that are on here are Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, which is honestly, it's such a good book. Like, you're either gonna hate or love this book. It's not the type of book that you're gonna love the characters. Like, you're really gonna be there for either the plot or the writing, and I was definitely there. I originally got interested in this because of Gabby from Gabby Reads, because she really loves this book, and it was just phenomenal. I loved it. Hate both the characters, but I loved it. And then the last book is Patron, Saints of Nothing, which first of all, let's look at this cover, honey. Like, do we love to see it or do we love to see it? Don't know much about this book other than it is about a high school senior, and it is definitely a really hard-hitting book. Like I mentioned with Darius the Great, this is a time when I'm getting really interested in heavy, hard-hitting contemporaries YA style, so that's the reason why I picked this one up, and I have heard good things about this book, so I'm really excited to read it. But that concludes the portion of this video where I talk about all the books that I bought myself. So now we're gonna talk about all the things from book boxes. Alright, let's start with one that I read recently, and that is These Violent Delights. This is a historical fiction fantasy where we follow our 2 main characters, Roma and Juliet, who are on opposing sides of a tension, maybe war. We are in 1920s Shanghai, and there is this monster that is trying to come and kill people. It is really intense. I really loved the historical elements in this book, and literally the special edition, I think this is an Owl Crate special edition. It is just so nice. Like, look at that, look at that, look at that. It is just so nice. It's so great. We love to see it. I think this is Owl Crate. I really love this edition. It's very pretty. It's green. The regular edition is like red and black, so I really love that this looks different. The next book is Horrid, and this is also an Owl Crate edition. The reviews I've seen have been kind of all over the place, so I'm not quite sure if I'll enjoy it. I do believe it's like a mystery or thriller, but first of all, look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love to see that, but we'll see how this one goes. I don't know when I'll be reading it, but if you've read it, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Next, we have Legendborn, which is another Outcrate edition, and in this book we follow our main character, Bree, who is going to this residential program at UNC Chapel Hill, and there are a lot of really intense things that she witnesses happening. This is a King Arthur retelling. I thought this book was pretty good in its description of grief and of Bree's feelings with her mother. I thought the storytelling was genius. I really enjoyed Bree's character. Really enjoyed that this book had an actual love triangle and not a love corner. So that was really refreshing to see. I also really like this edition. I like that it's red underneath. I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first, but it grew on me. I really like it. So yeah. Next we have an Illumicrate special edition with some sprayed edges. Okay, look at that. The edges are really doing something right there. But this is The Space Between Worlds. I literally didn't even say the title of the book. And I believe this is a science fiction. I think it's science fiction. Don't know too much about it. Now, like when I first got the book, I like had looked up some stuff, but all of those things left my brain. But I know that I've heard good things about it, and I really love the cover. I really love the sprayed edges, so I'm really excited to read this one. The last book on here is a book that's not going to surprise anyone. Why I have so many copies, as soon as I like, you know, show you, you're gonna be like, yeah, it makes sense. And that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Oh, oui. I'm just kidding. Anyways, this first edition is, I think, and Outcrate did like an entire box for this book, and so they had this edition which was in the box set that they did. It was like a big black box for Addie, and there are like a bunch of different things. It's really pretty. I really love the insides. I like that it's just like the cover and that's it. There's no dust jacket. It's really nice feelings wise, and I just really love also that there's a little bookmark thing in there, and then back it says, never pray to the gods that answer after dark. This is just one of my favorite editions of something ever. I just think it looks so good, but maybe it's because I'm obsessed with this book. So yeah, the next edition that I have is the Illumicrate edition. I think this is Illumicrate, and as you can tell, it's a lot smaller than the one from Outcrate. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot, I feel like it's the same in like width, but the font is super tiny. I don't know if you can see that. The font is super tiny, but maybe it's also because the book is super tiny. But yeah, this one on the inside has like some really cool art, and on the front it has really cool art. I just really love this edition too. I think this is the one that had like the really cool pictures on the inside. This was just so well done. Do you see that? Like a heart on some puppet strings. Something about this book is just fantastic. So it basically follows our main character, Addie, who makes a deal with who is essentially the devil when she is trying to live life for herself and make her own decisions, but she ends up being trapped into a curse where people forget who she is, until one day she meets a sad and broken and like golden retriever boy named Henry, and he's the only person who has ever remembered her. And that's essentially the story. I know a lot of people went into the book thinking it was going to be a romance between Addie and the devil character, and it wasn't. So if you haven't read this yet, please know that it's not a romance between Addie and that person. I know it was marketed as that from what I've heard a lot of people say. So this is the Book of the Month edition, and this is the edition that I read, as you can tell, because there's a lot of tabs in here. It was so good. But yes, that is the last thing that I wanted to haul. I have no clue how many books this was. I'm really glad that I split up the sections I had and did 2 in this one, and I'm gonna do 2 in a different one, because I think we would be here for like a featured film amount of time. But if you liked this video, go ahead and like it. If you've read any of these books or have them on your TBR, go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought about the book and why it's on your TBR, if somebody inspired you to get it or where you saw it, things like that. And if you watched all of this video, go ahead and leave me a book emoji. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye!